Kate Morgan stood at the viewing window of the space station Harmony watching the stars. She had never imagined being here as the first human diplomat to the Galactic Council. Her heart beat rapidly in her chest as she smoothed down her navy blue uniform. The enormity of her task weighed on her shoulders, representing all of humanity to beings from across the galaxy. The door behind her slid open with a soft hiss. Captain Susan Blake entered the room. Her gray eyes sharp and observant. She had been Kate's mentor since the first contact 5 years ago. "Are you ready, Kate?" "The council members are gathering." Kate took a deep breath. "I think so. Will all 27 species be there?" Susan nodded, her short blonde hair barely moving. "They will, and remember, most are curious, not hostile. The Arcturians specifically requested human representation." The two women walked through the curved hallway of the station. Kate noticed how the architecture avoided sharp angles, everything flowing in organic shapes unlike human designs. The walls themselves seemed alive with subtle colors shifting beneath the surface. They entered the grand chamber and Kate gasped despite her professional training. The ceiling arched hundreds of feet above them, appearing to be made of some crystal material that refracted light in patterns across the floor. The room was arranged in tiers with various seating arrangements to accommodate the different physiologies of council members. Some areas had water pools. Others had perches for winged beings, and still others had specialized atmosphere chambers. Susan guided Kate to the human section, a simple platform with 2 chairs. As they took their seats, Kate observed the other representatives. Some had multiple limbs. Others seemed to float rather than walk. A few glowed with internal bioluminescence, but one being caught Kate's attention immediately. She sat across the chamber, her skin a deep azure blue that seemed to shimmer with subtle patterns. Her silver hair was elaborately braided with small, glowing crystals woven throughout. She stood at least 7 feet tall with graceful proportions. Her eyes, when she turned toward Kate, were large and almond-shaped, glowing a vibrant purple. "That's Ambassador Nilari of the Azuri," Susan whispered, following Kate's gaze. "They're one of the founding species of the Council. Their civilization is over 50,000 years old." Kate couldn't look away. The alien woman carried herself with such elegance, such purpose when their eyes met across the chamber. Nilari tilted her head slightly in acknowledgement. The council session began with introductions, each representative standing to state their name, world, and position. Kate listened carefully, trying to memorize the unpronounceable names and unfamiliar titles. When her turn came, she stood, her voice stronger than she expected. "I am Kate Morgan, representative of Earth and its colonies. We are honored to join this gathering of worlds and hope to learn from your collective wisdom." Several delegates murmured what sounded like approval, though with such diverse species it was hard to interpret their reactions. Kate noticed Nilari watching her with those intense purple eyes. After the formal session ended, representatives mingled in what Kate recognized as the diplomatic equivalent of a cocktail party. She accepted a drink from a hovering service drone, the liquid inside changing color as she held it. "Ambassador Morgan," a melodic voice spoke behind her. Kate turned to find Nilari standing there up close. The alien woman was even more striking. Her skin had patterns like swirling clouds that moved subtly beneath the surface. "Ambassador Nilari." Kate managed to say, "I'm honored." The Azuri smiled, revealing pearl-like teeth. "Your species fascinates me. You've achieved space travel and neural networks in mere centuries, what took most of us millennia." Kate wasn't sure if this was compliment or concern. "Both, I think," Nilari said, as if reading her thoughts. "We find humans both promising and concerning. Your adaptability is remarkable, but your impulsiveness less so." Before Kate could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed, and a computerized voice announced in multiple languages, "Security breach in Docking Bay 4. All representatives please remain in the council chamber." Susan appeared at Kate's side, her hand moving to the weapon at her hip. "What's happening?" Nilari's skin darkened with what Kate would later learn was concern. "The crawl," she said quietly. "They oppose Earth's inclusion in the council." They believe humans are too dangerous to join galactic society. The chamber doors sealed automatically. Kate watched as security officers of various species took positions around the room, their weapons unlike anything she had seen before. "How bad is this?" Kate asked. Nylari's expression grew serious. "The crawler warriors, they consider diplomacy weakness. If they've breached the station, they mean to make a statement, likely a violent one." Kate felt fear rise in her throat but pushed it down. "Will they target humans specifically?" "Likely," Nylari confirmed. "They see your kind as a threat to the established order." The lights in the chamber flickered and then failed completely. "Emergency." Lighting cast everything in an eerie blue glow. Kate heard Susan curse under her breath. "Stay close to me." Susan ordered, "You're my responsibility." "No," Kate said, surprising herself. "I'm Earth's representative. I won't hide behind you." Nylari studied Kate. With newfound interest. "Human courage or human foolishness," she said. "The distinction isn't always clear." A tremendous bang shook the chamber as something struck the main doors. Kate saw the metal begin to glow red from some kind of cutting tool. The security officers raised their weapons. Kate made a decision. She stepped forward, ignoring Susan's attempt to pull her back. If the crawl wanted to make a statement about humans, she would make one first. "Ambassador Nylari," Kate said quickly, "do your people have abilities that might help us?" The Azuri woman seemed surprised by the direct question. "We are telepathic to a degree. I can sense the crawl beyond the door, 5 of them armed, but they are unsure. Their leader pushes them, but there is doubt." "Kate, process this information. Can you communicate with them? Make them understand we aren't here to fight." Nylari hesitated. "It is considered unethical to project thoughts to unwilling minds." The door was beginning to melt inward. "Please," Kate urged. "We can prevent bloodshed." Something in Kate's expression must have convinced her. Nylari closed her purple eyes. Her skin began to glow more intensely, the patterns moving faster. Kate felt a strange pressure in her mind. Not unpleasant, but alien. The cutting at the door stopped. "They're listening," Nylari said, her eyes still closed. Kate stepped toward the door, aware that every representative was watching her. This might determine humanity's place among the stars for generations. "I am Kate Morgan of Earth," she said loudly enough to carry through the damaged door. "We come to the Council not as conquerors but as learners. We know our history is filled with violence and mistakes, we don't deny this. But we've also created art, music, literature. We've protected species on the brink of extinction. We've developed medicines to cure diseases. We want to be part of something greater than ourselves, to learn from those who've walked the stars long before us." Kate felt Nylari's presence in her mind, supporting her, giving her confidence. "If you've come to prove humans are violent, you've failed by attacking rather than talking. You've demonstrated exactly what you claim to hate. Let us meet as equals, discuss your concerns. The Council exists for this purpose." Silence followed her words. The glow of cutting tools had faded. The door remained partially melted, but the attack had ceased. "They're withdrawing," Nylari said, opening her eyes. "They will still oppose human membership, but not through violence today." The emergency lights flickered and the main power returned. Security teams reported the crawl retreating to their ship. Kate felt her legs go weak with relief. Nylari placed a 4-fingered hand on Kate's shoulder. "You spoke well, human. The Council will remember." This Kate met those alien purple eyes and saw something she hadn't expected: respect, and perhaps the beginning of friendship. 3 weeks after the crawl incident, Kate found herself invited to visit Nylari's homeworld, Azura. The Galactic Council had been impressed by her handling of the situation and suggested a cultural exchange program. Kate, as Earth's representative, would visit several council worlds, starting with the ancient civilization of the Azuri. The journey took 7 days aboard the Azuri diplomatic vessel. Even traveling faster than light, the distance was vast. Kate spent the time learning about Azuri, culture and language from Nylari. They sat in the ship's observation lounge, stars streaking past the windows. Nylari's skin reflected the starlight, her patterns shifting like clouds. "Your world orbits a gas giant," Nylari explained. "It is not a planet, as you understand them, but a moon. Our cities float in the upper atmosphere of the gas giant, harnessing energy from constant storms below. Kate tried to imagine it. How do you build in the sky gravity manipulation? Nylari said, as if it were simple. Our ancestors developed the technology 15,000 years ago. It allowed us to create floating islands anchored to massive atmospheric processors. The view. Kate is beyond description. Endless skies in every direction. Kate smiled at Nylari's. Obvious pride in her world. I can't wait to see it. When they arrived, Kate understood why words had failed. Nylari Azura wasn't just a moon orbiting a gas giant. It was a masterpiece of engineering and art. Massive platforms miles wide floated in the upper atmosphere of a swirling purple and blue planet. Each platform was a city connected to others by what looked like bridges of light. Transport vehicles moved between them like glowing fish in a cosmic sea. From the shuttle window, Kate saw structures that defied gravity, spires that curved and twisted upward, gardens that cascaded over the edges of the floating islands, and water that flowed in impossible directions. This is magnificent, Kate whispered. Nylari's skin brightened with pleasure. This is only Alara, our capital. There are 16 major city clusters around Azura. The shuttle docked at a crystalline spire. Kate followed Nylari into a city that seemed alive. The surfaces responded to touch, changing color and texture. The buildings themselves shifted subtly, accommodating the needs of their inhabitants. Nylari led Kate to what she called a dwelling space, though it resembled an open garden more than any house Kate had seen. Plants that glowed with bioluminescence provided light. Furniture seemed to grow from the floor, adjusting as they approached. This is where you will stay during your visit, Nylari said. The environment has been adjusted for human comfort. Kate noticed the temperature and humidity were indeed perfect. Neither too warm nor too cool. She touched a nearby surface that looked like a flower petal but felt like silk. The next days were filled with wonders. Kate met the Azuri High Council, ancient beings, whose skin patterns moved with hypnotic complexity. Toured research facilities where scientists manipulated gravity and light as easily as humans worked with wood or metal. She observed schools where young Azuri practiced telepathic communication, their skin barely showing patterns as they concentrated. Nylari remained her constant companion, explaining, answering questions, and sometimes simply watching Kate's reactions with those piercing purple eyes. On the 5th day, they visited the History Caverns, massive chambers within one of the floating islands, where the entire history of the Azuri was preserved not in books or digital records, but in living memory crystals. These are similar to the crystals in my hair, Nylari explained, touching one of the glowing gems braided into her silver locks, but much more powerful. They contain the experiences of our ancestors. She guided Kate to a central crystal larger than a human and glowing with intense light. May I show you something of my people's past? It might help you understand why some in the Council fear humanity's rapid advancement. Kate nodded. Curious, Nylari placed Kate's hand on the crystal and covered it with her own. The world disappeared. Kate found herself looking through alien eyes. She was on a battlefield. The sky, dark with smoke. Beings she didn't recognize fought with weapons that distorted reality itself. Entire sections of land simply ceased to exist, soldiers screaming as they were pulled into nothingness. The war lasted for generations. Nylari's voice explained, though. Her body wasn't present. Only 1 in 10 Azuri survived. We had developed technology we couldn't control, weapons that fed on energy growing stronger with each use. The Torrent War nearly destroyed not just our civilization but our entire star system. The year. Vision shifted, showing the aftermath, floating islands in ruins, Azuri with dulled skin patterns working to rebuild. This was 20,000 years ago. Nylari continued. We learned to advance more slowly, to consider consequences before implementation. The Galactic Council formed from this principle. Technology without wisdom is merely sophisticated destruction. The vision faded. Kate found herself back in the History Caverns, tears streaming down her face. The emotions of those ancient Azuri lingering in her mind. I understand, Kate said softly, wiping her tears. Humans have had our own smaller versions of such lessons. nuclear weapons, climate change. We're still learning, Nylari's expression softened. You learn quickly, though. That gives both hope and concern. That evening they sat on an observation deck overlooking the gas giant's endless storms. Swirls of purple, blue, and silver energy danced below them. The sight was hypnotic. Kate had been thinking about the vision all day. I want to show you something too. Not as dramatic as your memory crystals, but important to understanding humans. She took out her personal tablet and pulled up videos of Earth children playing in parks. Doctors treating patients, artists creating murals on city walls, conservationists releasing endangered animals back into the wild. These are my people, Kate said. Not just our wars or technologies, but our everyday compassion, our drive to create and preserve. Not just destroy. Nylari watched intently, her skin patterns shifting rapidly as she processed what she saw. I begin to understand you better. Kate Morgan. There is a vibrancy to your species, a passion that many older races have tempered over millennia. It has risks, but also great potential. They sat in comfortable silence watching the storms below. The alien landscape should have made Kate feel small and insignificant. Instead, she felt connected to something vast and wonderful. Can I ask you something personal? Kate said after a while. Nylari tilted her head, the patterns on her skin forming curious swirls. Ask, how old are you? In human terms, Nylari's skin rippled with what Kate had learned was amusement. I am 427 of your Earth years, still quite young for my people. Our natural lifespan is approximately 1,000 years. Kate tried to comprehend living so long. What's it like to have so much time? Nylari considered the question, both a blessing and a limitation. We have time to master many skills, to see civilizations rise and fall, to know patience in all things. But we can also become fixed in our thinking, set in patterns that no longer serve. We sometimes envy your species' brief, bright lives. The urgency with which you experience everything. That night in her quarters, Kate wrote her report to Earth describing the wonders she'd seen. She included technical details about Azuri gravity manipulation and their sustainable energy systems. But she also wrote about Nylari, about the growing friendship between them, about the way the ancient alien woman looked at stars with the same wonder Kate did, despite having seen them for centuries. Kate was beginning to understand that diplomacy between worlds wasn't just about technology exchange or security agreements. It was about building bridges of understanding, finding common ground despite profound differences. As she finished her report, she looked out at the endless sky of Azura and felt something shift inside her. She had come here as Earth's representative, but she was becoming something more, a bridge between worlds. 3 years after first contact with the Void Dancers, Kate Morgan stood in the grand observation lounge of the newly constructed Unity Station. The massive structure orbited a neutral star at the edges of Council space, designed specifically to facilitate ongoing communication between the ancient species and the younger civilizations. Kate watched through the viewports as ships arrived for the historic Summit Council vessels, sleek and elegant, human transports practical and sturdy, and, among them, the organic forms of Void Dancer ships pulsing with internal light. The sight still filled her with wonder. The impossible had become reality. Ambassador Morgan. A familiar musical voice greeted her. Kate turned to find Nylari approaching. The Azuri looked much as she had when they first met, tall and graceful with azure skin and flowing silver hair adorned with memory crystals. But Kate noticed subtle differences. The patterns that moved beneath Nylari's skin were more complex now, incorporating elements reminiscent of Void Dancer communication, a sign of the deep telepathic exchanges she had participated in. Nylari. Kate smiled, embracing her friend in the human manner which the Azuri had come to appreciate. How was your journey? Long, but productive, Nylari replied. The Azuri High Council has approved the final treaty terms. After 50,000 years of misunderstanding, my people are ready for reconciliation. Kate felt pride swell in her chest. Pride in Nylari, who had overcome millennia of cultural fear to become the primary intermediary between the Council and the Void Dancers. Pride in humanity, whose perspective had helped bridge the gap, and pride in herself for trusting her instincts that day aboard the Starseeker. The last 3 years had been challenging. The initial telepathic contact had been just the beginning. The Void Dancer's communications were so alien, so complex, that establishing true understanding required months of patient work. Kate, Nilari, and a team of specialists from various worlds had developed new protocols, new technologies, and new mental techniques. They had learned the truth. The beings called Void Dancers were refugees from a distant galaxy. Their original name translated roughly as those who dance between stars. Their homeworld destroyed by forces they still wouldn't fully describe, they had wandered the cosmos for millions of years. When they first encountered Council worlds, 50,000 years ago, they had attempted communication, only to be met with fear and weapons. They defended themselves with technologies that fed on energy, redirecting attacks back at their source. The devastating Torrent War had been a tragic misunderstanding, and now here they were on the verge of peace. It's hard to believe how far we've come, Kate said, watching a particularly large Void Dancer vessel take position near the station. Indeed, Nilari agreed, her purple eyes reflecting starlight. 3 years ago, the Council was preparing for war. Now we stand on the edge of a new era of cooperation. The Void Dancer's computational abilities combined with Council resources and human creativity. They had discovered the Void Dancers possessed incredible skills in mathematics, physics, and dimensional engineering. Their organic technology operated on principles that defied conventional understanding. Their ships weren't built, but grown, guided by collective thought into forms perfectly suited to their purpose. In exchange for sanctuary and resources, the Void Dancers had begun sharing their knowledge. Already breakthroughs in energy generation faster than light travel and terraforming had revolutionized life across Council. Space Admiral Blake approached, joining them at the viewport, her uniform now adorned with additional honors earned during the tense early negotiations when many still feared Void Dancer treachery. The Earth delegation has arrived, she informed them. The President sends her regards and will join us for the signing ceremony. Kate nodded, grateful for Susan's continued support. The Admiral had stood by her when many thought her mission foolhardy, had defended her when skeptics claimed humans were naive to trust the alien refugees. The 3 women watched as more ships arrived. Council members, human vessels, and the organic forms of the Void Dancers all converging for the historic moment. I received a message from the Crawl this morning, Kate said with some amusement. They're sending a representative to the summit. Nilari's skin patterns showed surprise. The Crawl, the same who opposed human membership, who attacked the Council chamber. The same, Kate confirmed. It seems even the most warlike species can change given enough reason. The technological advantages of cooperation have proven compelling. The summit would formalize what had already begun. The integration of Void Dancer knowledge with Council science. Human adaptability had proven crucial in this process. Kate's team developing hybrid technologies that combined approaches from all 3 civilizations, but beyond technology, the summit represented something more profound. A new understanding, a recognition that difference wasn't something to fear, but to embrace. That miscommunication, not malice, had been at the root of ancient conflicts. As the observation lounge filled with representatives from across known space, Kate found herself approached by a Void Dancer. The being had no solid form, instead existing as a swirling pattern of energy contained within a specially designed interaction field. Lights pulsed within its mass in rhythms Kate had learned to recognize as emotional states: gratitude, connection, joy. The being projected directly into Kate's mind. The telepathic connection no longer overwhelming after years of practice. Kate smiled, sending her own thoughts in return. Friendship, hope, future. The Void Dancer's lights shifted, becoming brighter. We have wandered alone for so long, feared, misunderstood. You gave us voice, Kate Morgan of Earth. You saw us as beings, not weapons. The formal ceremony began, representatives gathering in the central chamber. Kate took her place between Nilari and the Void Dancer delegate. The council elder spoke of new beginnings, of mistakes acknowledged and forgiven. The Void Dancer representative shared images directly to the assembled minds, visions of shared prosperity, discoveries, yet to be made, worlds renewed through combined knowledge. When Kate's turn came to speak, she looked out at the gathering, the most diverse assembly of beings ever brought together in peace 3 years ago. We stood at the brink of war, she said, ready to repeat the mistakes of the past. Fear nearly drove us to destroy what we didn't understand. She gestured to the Void Dancer beside her, but a simple question changed everything. What if we tried to communicate instead of fight? The treaty was signed not with ink or digital authentication, but through a synchronized telepathic acknowledgement. A moment of unified thought, across species that transcended traditional communication. The Void Dancers were officially recognized as a sovereign civilization with rights to settle uninhabited systems, in exchange for sharing their knowledge. As the ceremony concluded, Kate found herself alone with Nalari on a small balcony overlooking the docking bays, ships from 100 worlds moving in coordinated patterns. "You've accomplished something remarkable, Kate Morgan," Nalari said, the patterns beneath her azure skin forming shapes of admiration. "In all my 400 years, I never imagined seeing peace between my people and the void." "Dancers," Kate shook her head. "I just asked a question. You and the others did the hard work." Nilari touched Kate's shoulder with 4 gentle fingers. "But it was the right question at the right moment, and that has made all the difference. My people have a saying. Understanding begins with the courage to question what everyone else accepts as truth." Kate smiled at her friend. Looking at the assembled fleet below, she felt a sense of possibility that transcended her wildest dreams. When she'd first stepped onto Harmony Station years ago, a nervous diplomat from a newly spacefaring species, she could never have imagined this outcome. A future stretched before them, filled with challenges. Certainly, the integration of 3 vastly different civilizations wouldn't be without difficulties. Cultural misunderstandings would occur. Setbacks would happen. But the foundation had been laid, a bridge spanning differences so vast they had once seemed insurmountable. A communication came through on Kate's personal device, a message from Earth. The president asking her to consider a new role, special envoy for interspecies relations, a position created specifically for her unique abilities to bridge worlds. Nilari noticed Kate's expression. "What is it?" Kate showed her the message. "I'm not sure I'm qualified." Nilari's skin rippled with what Kate now recognized as laughter. Who better, the human, who taught an ancient Azuri to see with new eyes, the diplomat, who heard what no one had heard in 50,000 years. Kate looked out at the stars visible beyond the docking bay. She thought of her journey from that first day on Harmony Station, the azure-skinned woman who had fascinated her, the friendship that had grown between them, the understanding that had expanded to include beings so alien they communicated through pure thought. "I accept," Kate said, both to Nilari and in response to the message. Later that evening, a celebration filled Unity Station. Representatives from all species mingled, sharing food, drink, and telepathic impressions. Kate found herself moving through the crowd, receiving congratulations from beings of all forms. Council members who had once doubted human readiness for galactic society now acknowledging her contribution. As the celebration continued, Kate stepped away for a moment of quiet. She found a small viewport looking out at the stars, the same stars that had witnessed the ancient conflicts, the misunderstandings, the fear. Now they witnessed something new. Understanding, hope, peace. After 2 months of visiting various council worlds, Kate returned to Earth, bringing Nilari with her. The Azuri ambassador had expressed interest in experiencing human culture firsthand. The diplomatic exchange had been approved at the highest levels, making Nilari the first Galactic Council representative to officially visit Earth. They arrived at the new Pacific Space Elevator, in what had once been Hawaii. The massive structure stretched from the island up beyond the atmosphere, a testament to human engineering. Kate watched Nilari's reaction as they descended in the transparent elevator car, Earth spreading out below them. The blue Kate, Nilari whispered, her skin rippling with emotion. So much water. Most council species evolved on worlds with limited surface water, Kate had learned. The concept of oceans covering most of a planet was foreign to them. When they stepped out of the elevator terminal onto actual soil, Nilari paused. She knelt touching the ground with four-fingered hands. Her skin pattern swirled rapidly. "It feels alive," she said, looking up at Kate with those purple eyes. "Your world pulses with life in a way I've never experienced." Kate smiled, understanding now why humans had been so overwhelmed when first encountering alien worlds. The familiar seems ordinary until you see it through someone else's eyes. Their first week was spent at a private oceanside retreat, allowing Nilari to adjust to Earth's gravity and atmosphere. Kate watched as the alien woman experienced rain for the first time, standing with arms outstretched, face turned upward as water fell from the sky, her silver hair darkening as it got wet. "On your world, water falls freely from above," Nilari said with wonder. "On Azura, water is precious, carefully managed." Kate had arranged for a team of Earth's top scientists to meet with Nilari, sharing knowledge and learning from her in return. But she also included cultural experiences, museums, concerts, national parks. They stood at the edge of the Grand Canyon, Nilari staring in silence at the vast expanse. Wind ruffled her silver hair as her purple eyes took in the layers of red rock. "No construction," Nilari finally said. "No technology shaping this. Natural erosion." Kate explained, "Water and wind over millions of years. Your people preserved this when you could have built here." Kate nodded. "We learned sometimes the greatest achievement is choosing not to build, leaving natural wonders intact." Nilari's skin patterns formed what Kate now recognized as deep thought. "Your species contradicts itself at every turn. You create weapons that could destroy your civilization, yet set aside vast territories simply to remain wild. You argue constantly among yourselves, yet unite to solve global challenges. You are puzzling." "Kate Morgan," Kate laughed. "That's a very diplomatic way of calling us confusing," in a Japanese garden. They sat beside a small pond, watching koi fish swim lazily beneath floating lily pads. The controlled serenity seemed to resonate with Nilari. Her skin took on the greens and blues of the garden in Tokyo. They experienced the contrast between ancient temples and soaring hyper-buildings. The city's energy affected Nilari visibly. Her movements became quicker, her questions more frequent, as if trying to absorb everything at once. "I see why humans advance so quickly," Nilari said as they walked through crowded streets. "You're constantly stimulated, surrounded by difference and change. Your cities don't follow unified plans, they grow organically, competing ideas existing side by side." At night, in a small traditional restaurant, they ate meals specially prepared to be safe for Azuri physiology. The chef had researched for weeks to create dishes that would honor both traditions. "Go, notice something about your people," Nilari said, holding a cup of tea in her four-fingered hand. "You celebrate individual achievement more than collective harmony. This is different from most council species." Kate considered this. "It's true. We value personal expression, innovation, standing out, but we also come together when needed." The next day they visited a children's hospital. Kate had helped fund Nilari, observed as doctors treated patients from around the world, regardless of origin or resources. All received the same care. "This contradicts the individual focus," Nilari noted. "We care for those who cannot contribute. That's what makes us human," Kate replied. "We're full of contradictions." In Kenya, they visited wildlife preserves, Nilari watching with fascination as elephants moved across the savannah. "These creatures evolved alongside you," she said. "They were not engineered." "No," Kate confirmed, "though we've helped some species recover from near extinction. Our relationship with Earth's other life forms has been complicated." They stood watching a sunset over the plains, the sky painted in oranges and purples, Nilari's skin reflecting the colors. "Your world has taught me something important, Kate," Nilari said softly. "Diversity creates resilience. The Azuri seek harmony above all consensus and unity. But seeing Earth, I wonder if we've sacrificed something valuable." Your chaotic approach produces both terrible failures and remarkable breakthroughs. The Council worlds have become too cautious, too similar. In their thinking, Kate felt honored by the admission. We could learn from your patience, your long-term perspective. As they traveled, Kate noticed subtle changes in how Nylari interacted with humans. Initially, she had maintained formal distance. Now, she engaged directly, asking questions of everyone from scientists to street vendors. She tried human foods modified to be compatible with her biology. She even attempted to dance at a cultural festival. Her normally graceful movements charmingly, awkward as she followed the unfamiliar rhythms. One evening they sat on a beach watching waves crash against the shore. The moon reflected on the water, creating a silver path across the dark surface. I have a confession, Kate, Nylari said, her voice carrying that musical quality that still enchanted Kate. When I agreed to this exchange, I had ulterior motives. Kate turned to her friend, concerned. What do you mean? Nylari's skin patterns showed nervousness, a rapid swirling Kate rarely saw. I came to evaluate whether humans were truly ready for full council membership. Some believe your species needs more time to mature. I was asked to provide my assessment. Kate felt a moment of betrayal, though she knew such political calculations were part of diplomacy. And what have you decided? Nylari looked out at the ocean. I've decided the question itself was wrong. The Council needs humanity as much as humanity needs the Council. Your species sees possibilities where we see only risks. You dream where we calculate. Your imperfection, your contradictions, your passion, these aren't weaknesses to overcome, but strengths we've forgotten. She turned to Kate, her purple eyes intense. My report to the Council will recommend not just membership for Earth, but a special advisory role. Your perspective is valuable precisely because it differs from ours. Kate hadn't expected this. The diplomatic implications were enormous. Earth moving from provisional status to influential member in one step, but more important was the personal revelation Nylari had truly come to appreciate. Humanity with all its flaws. Thank you, Kate said simply. They sat in comfortable silence watching the waves, the human woman and the alien ambassador each seeing their own world differently through the other's eyes. My people have a saying, Nylari finally said. Understanding grows from difference, not similarity. Kate smiled. I think humans have been trying to figure that out for our entire history. 3 days later, they stood at the base of the space elevator preparing for Nylari's return journey. A small crowd of officials had gathered to bid the ambassador farewell before boarding. Nylari faced Kate. I have something for you. She removed one of the glowing crystals from her intricate hair braids and placed it in Kate's palm. This contains my memories of Azura, she explained. When you hold it and think of me, you'll experience my homeworld as I do. The crystal felt warm against Kate's skin, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. The gesture was profoundly intimate by Azuri standards, Kate knew. I have nothing so magical to offer in return. Kate said. Nylari's skin patterns formed what Kate now recognized as a smile. You've given me Earth, Kate Morgan, your oceans, your contradictions, your humanity. I returned to the Council changed by knowing you. When the elevator carried Nylari upward, Kate held the crystal, watching the blue sky into which her friend had disappeared. She thought of the vast distance between their worlds, not just in light years but in evolution culture perspective, and yet somehow they had found common ground. That night, Kate began drafting proposals for Earth's new role in galactic politics. The path ahead would be challenging. The Crawl and other skeptical species would resist human influence. But something fundamental had changed. A bridge had been built not just between governments but between beings. Kate Morgan Diplomat had become Kate Morgan Bridge between worlds. 6 months after Nylari's visit to Earth, Kate found herself summoned to an emergency council session. The message contained no details, only that representatives from all member worlds were required to attend immediately. Kate felt a sense of foreboding as she boarded the transport to Harmony Station. Susan Blake, now Admiral Blake, joined her for the journey. Her expression grave. Any idea what this is about? Kate asked, as their ship entered faster than light. Travel Susan shook her head. Just rumors. Something happened in the Outer Rim territories beyond Council space. The Outer Rim was largely unexplored territory. Systems too distant or resource-poor to attract much attention from the established worlds. Kate had heard stories of independent colonies and fringe groups settling there beyond Council oversight. When they arrived at Harmony Station, Kate immediately sensed the tension. The normal diplomatic pleasantries were absent. Representatives huddled in small groups, speaking in hushed toned. Security presence had tripled since her last visit. Kate scanned the gathering for Nilari, finding the tall, azure-skinned woman in conversation with delegates from 3 other worlds. Her silver hair gleaming under the lights, her skin patterns moving in what Kate now recognized as agitation. Kate approached and Nilari broke away from her group. Kate Morgan. Nilari said, her musical voice tight with concern. You've arrived just in time. The session begins shortly. What's happening? Kate asked Nilari, guided her to a quieter corner of the chamber. The Void Dancers have returned. Kate frowned, not recognizing the term. Nilari's purple eyes darkened. A species believed extinct for 50,000 years. They were mentioned in the history I showed, you the Torrent War. They created the weapons that nearly destroyed my people. And now they've returned. Kate felt a chill. The memory crystal had shown her glimpses of devastating weapons technology beyond even current Council capabilities. They're back. 3 Outer Rim colonies have gone silent. Nilari said investigation teams found only empty settlements. No signs of battle, no bodies, just abandoned. Then 2 days ago, a Council research vessel captured images. She showed Kate a holographic recording. A massive ship unlike any Kate had seen. Its design organic, almost like a sea creature with tendrils extending from a central mass. It moved with unsettling grace, pulsing rather than thrusting forward. The Council is divided on how to respond, Nilari continued. Some advocate immediate military action. Others wish to attempt communication. Still others suggest we abandon the Outer Rim entirely, retreat to core systems and fortify. The chamber lights flashed, signaling the start of the session. Kate took her seat beside Admiral Blake. The Council Elder, an ancient being from one of the founding species, addressed the gathered representatives. Evidence confirms the return of the Void Dancers, the Elder said without preamble. Their vessels have been identified in 3 systems. They appear to be following the same pattern as in ancient times, testing defenses before full incursion. The Void Dancers do not communicate. They do not negotiate. They consume worlds leaving. Nothing behind. Images appeared above the chamber floor. Recordings from automated beacons showed more of the organic-looking ships. Some small, some massive, all moving with that same unsettling, pulsing motion. The Elder continued, we face an existential threat not seen in 50 millennia. The Council must decide on immediate action. What followed was chaos, representatives shouting over each other. Some demanded combined fleet action, others called for evacuation of border worlds. Fear permeated the chamber. Kate watched as Nilari stood, her tall form commanding attention. The Azuri have maintained records of the previous conflict, she said when the chamber quieted. The Void Dancers' weapons feed on energy. The more power directed against them, the stronger they become. This is why conventional military response failed before and will fail again. Then what option remains? A reptilian delegate demanded. Kate found herself standing before she realized her intention. The chamber turned toward her. In human history, Kate began, we faced enemies that seemed unstoppable. Overwhelming force wasn't always the answer. Sometimes understanding was. A ripple of dismissive murmurs crossed the chamber. Ambassador Morgan the Elder said, you cannot understand what you face. The Void Dancers destroyed thousands of worlds before they were defeated. With respect, Kate countered, has anyone actually attempted communication with them? Since their return, silence answered her. They're machines, not beings. Another representative said, they don't communicate. How do you know? Kate pressed. We've all evolved in 50,000 years. Perhaps they have too. Nylari's eyes met Kate's across the chamber, understanding passing between them. The human makes a valid point, Nylari said. If the old strategies failed, perhaps new approaches are needed. What do you propose, Ambassador Morgan the Elder? Asked Kate, took a deep breath. A small team fast ship attempt direct contact while the main fleet remains at safe distance. If we fail, you've lost nothing. If we succeed, we might prevent another devastating war. The chamber erupted again. Some called the plan suicide. Others saw wisdom in risking few to potentially save many. Kate noticed Nylari moving through the crowd, speaking quietly to key representatives. After hours of debate, the council reached a compromise. A small exploratory vessel would attempt contact. If unsuccessful, or if the team was lost, the combined council fleet would implement containment protocols, trying to isolate the Void Dancers to the outer rim. Kate volunteered immediately to join the mission admiral. Blake cornered her after the session. What are you thinking? This is likely a death sentence. Kate met her mentor's concerned gaze. Someone asked to try Susan. Either we find a peaceful solution, or we gather intelligence that helps the fleet. The stakes are too high not to attempt this. As Kate prepared to board the scout vessel, Starseeker, she was surprised to find Nylari waiting at the airlock. I'm joining you, the Azuri announced. My knowledge of the ancient records may prove useful. Kate felt both concerned and relieved. Having Nylari along would improve their chances, but also put her friend at risk. Are you sure? The council needs your wisdom. Nylari's skin patterns formed what Kate now recognized as determination. The council has many advisors, but this mission needs my specific knowledge. Besides, she touched Kate's shoulder gently. I've come to trust your human intuition. Starseeker was the fastest vessel in the council fleet, small enough to avoid easy detection, but equipped with advanced sensors and communication systems. The crew was minimal. Kate, Nylari, 2 pilots and a science officer named Talon from a species. With exceptional analytical abilities, they traveled for 6 days toward the last known location of Void Dancer activity, a small mining colony called Hephaestus. Kate spent the time studying all available information about the ancient conflict. Most records were fragmentary legends more than facts. The Void Dancers were described variously as machine sentient weapons or evolved energy beings. Nylari shared more detailed Azuri accounts. The patterns of attack, the apparent goals which seemed to be resource acquisition rather than conquest. They consume without building. Nylari explained, her purple eyes troubled. They take, but create nothing. On the 7th day, they arrived at Hephaestus. The colony orbited a rocky planet rich in rare minerals. The settlement itself was built into a small moon, facilities extending below the surface. The Starseeker approached cautiously, sensors at maximum sensitivity. No life signs. Talon reported, his multifaceted eyes scanning the readouts. But the infrastructure appears intact, power systems still functioning, automated mining operations still running. Just no people that matches previous sites. Nylari said, something removed the colonists but left everything else. Can we dock? Kate asked. The pilots guided their vessel to the colony's main airlock. The connection was established without difficulty. Kate, Nylari, and Talon donned environmental suits, though sensors indicated the atmosphere remained breathable. They moved through the airlock into the colony. Silence was eerie. Lights still functioning, air still flowing, food left on tables in the mess hall. Talon collected samples while Kate and Nylari searched for clues. In the colony's control center, they found the logs. The final entry made by the administrator described a strange signal detected approaching the moon. Then nothing. They've been gone for 12 days, Nylari said, examining the timestamps. But where? A sudden alert from the Starseeker interrupted them. Pilots reporting a vessel approaching, massive energy signature. They rushed back to their ship. As they reached the airlock, Talon's instruments began registering unusual readings. Energy patterns unlike anything in council records. Through the viewport, Kate saw it. A Void Dancer ship larger than the colony itself. The organic-looking vessel pulsed with internal light, its tendrils extending toward them. "We should leave," Talon urged. "Our mission was reconnaissance, not suicide." "No," Kate said. "This is exactly what we came for." "First contact." She moved to the communication station, preparing all known protocols for first contact. Greeting messages in multiple formats, mathematical sequences, simple visual representations. Nylari joined her. The Azuri attempted similar approaches. 50,000 years ago they received no response. Kate looked at her friend. "But your ancestors were fighting them. We come in peace. That might make a difference." Kate sent the messages, watching as they transmitted toward the massive alien vessel. For long minutes, nothing happened. The Void Dancer continued its approach, then something changed. The pulsing light within the vessel altered its rhythm. The tendrils stopped their advance.